take up the last class of weak verbs that we haven't talked about yet in the Hiphil, and that are third Hey verbs. Now, third Hey verbs are only moderately problematic in the Hiphil if you understand what third Hey verbs do in general, because the third Hey verbs do the same thing in the Hiphil that they do most of the time. So let's review first what third Hey verbs do. Remember, with third Hey verbs, they do three different things depending on what the ending is. When there's no ending, what do third Hey verbs do? Huh? Well, okay, they have a hey on the end, right? So they look like the form, and the hey is going to be pointed, if we have our three root letters, our hey, we'll have our hey, and the hey will be pointed with a comets or a segol, depending on if it's perfect or imperfect in the third hey. So that's our first option. If there's nothing, it's easy, because it's relatively easy because there's the hey on the end. Now, before a vocalic ending, what happens to the third hey? It should be old hat by now. Should be getting repetitious since we've done it in the call and the PL. Before an ending that's a vowel like oo or e, what happens to the third hey? Goes away, because you can't have. Remember, the third hey in third Hey verbs is really a vowel. And you can't put a vowel on a vowel, so if you have a vocalic ending, the third hey has to go away. And finally, before a consonantal ending, so the third hey goes away, drops off completely. Before a consonantal ending, what does the third hey do? Somebody who knows? Several people mumbling, but I couldn't hear distinctively. Yeah, it returns to the original yod. So third Hey verbs before a consonantal ending, the yod comes back before the ending, like new or whatever. So let's see how that works out in the Hiphil then. Well, the first problem we're going to have in the Hiphil is this question of the infixed heroic yod. Okay? And remember, our hey is vocalic. And where do we want to put this heroic yod? We want to put it right here, right? That would mean we'd be doing what? Yeah, we'd be adding a vowel to a vowel. And so, in this case, throughout the third Hey verbs in the Hiphil, you get no infixed heroic yod. Okay? Just a complication of the fact that you've got this vocalic hey already at the end of the word that's going to be there most of the time, or else the yod is going to be there most of the time, one of those two. In each case, either one of those prohibit or preclude you putting another heroic yod in the middle of the word. So in the perfect, if we've already said before no ending, you get the regular pointing. In the perfect, that regular pointing is a comet's hey here. Now we can't stick the heroic yod in. So and the only problem here is at the end of the word, right? So how will the front part of this word, how would we expect it to be pointed? Normally, right? And so the Hiphil is hivna. So the catch here, you see, is you get no heroic yod to help you out. The part that you should look at to help you parse it is still the same. So it's not really all that problematic if you don't get caught up with the problem at the end. If you recognize this is a third Hey root, and just to ask myself what should a third Hey root do here at the end of the word, it behaves as you would expect it to. There are no new wrinkles to be learned. So going on from this form, when you get to the third feminine singular form of third Hey verbs, remember you always get this tau coming in before the ending. So the third feminine singular would be hivnafa, with that tau in there. Before the first plural with the ending t, you would get the yod coming back before the ending t, and so you would get really the form that you would expect. You'd get hiv nithi. This heroic yod is the third Hey heroic yod, not the Hiphil heroic yod. That can be a little bit confusing, but only a little bit. Again, if you recognize this is third Hey verb, because it's doing what third Heys do all the time. They're very consistent. Okay, so we move to the imperfect. We find really the same thing happening there. Before, in the imperfect, when we've got no ending, as in the third masculine singular, our hey remains. And how's it pointed in the imperfect? Not with comets hey, but how? Segol hey. Remember at the end of the word, like yivne, remember in the call, yivne, and yivane in the PL. And so here, the third hey is only going to affect the back part of the word. Front part of the word would be as expected. So what's it going to be in the Hiphil imperfect? Under the preformative, pafak, under the first root letter, schwa. So the third hey form, again, once you realize we're working with a third hey verb, it's entirely predictable. So you have net. And the forms all follow suit then. Most of them, of course, have no ending in the imperfect. The ones that do, the third masculine plural is yav nu. The third hey goes away and the vowel goes right on, just as you would expect the third hey to do. And the ones like the second feminine, or a third feminine singular and second feminine singular with the na ending, behave again just as you would expect. The heric yod comes in, so it would be yav ni na.